Hello, everybody. My name is Dagmara Romanowska, and I would like to welcome you all to the 61st Krakow Film Festival. I hope that you enjoy the screening, and either online or in the cinema. As you know, the festival this year is both in the cinemas, finally, but also online. As you can see, this event is happening online. We have some wonderful guests with us today, and I would like, perhaps when I will be introducing you, you can wave, and then we will start the conversation. So we have Arman Golipor-Dashaki with his translator. Hello, guys.
Yeah, hi.
Hello, hi.
Marahi.
We have
Thank you.
We have Annie Saint-Pierre.
Hi, everyone.
Hi. And Olga Lukovintsova.
Hello.
Hi, guys. Thank you very much for coming. We unfortunately, Rafi Movsisyan and Michelle Creno and Uri Creno could not come because they are working somewhere and on travel and couldn't connect. So it is, I mean, the world is back on and people are back to work, which is a good thing, but sometimes it's difficult to meet all at one place, even if it is a Zoom meeting. Guys, thank you very much for your films. I guess the audiences will need to take like a deep breath after your films. Very different in mood, very different in the subject matter. But there is one thing that is connecting them, and this is a family. And I would like to start with a more general question at the very beginning for all of you. Why do you think that family is such a powerful subject matter for the cinema makers, for you, that, because family is something perhaps that filmmakers want to work as their first or one of the first films, and the audiences want to see it. What is your perception of family in cinema? Perhaps Annie, I would start with you.
Well, I think family is in cinema what love is in music. It's something that we have to write about because it's the foundation of our personality. It what builds us as a human being, and it's also what makes us resist to some value or some choice in life. And also, I think that for me, as a filmmaker, I'm really interested in a period of transition in life, because I think it's full of dramatic and also funny experience. And a lot of those transitions are taking part during the time we are surrounded by family members, and we are all bring together in those transitions. You cannot avoid a transition of someone in your family. You have to be a part of it because it's so close to you. So I think it's maybe a reason why it's so interesting.
Mm-hmm. And Olga, and you talk about your own family, and you with such a difficult subject. Do you think that for you this could be also some sort of a therapy to work on your personal family story? Or generally for filmmakers?
It was my first try to make a personal film, because normally I'm used to do films about others, and it was very challenging to make a first-person film, which means that the film is about me, and I'm filming my family and I'm behind the camera, and it was very difficult to keep the distance between me as a filmmaker, me as director, and me as a main protagonist of a film. Yeah, I think that family is very important in this film, because I wanted to show, because if I would say would talk only about myself and if I would share my memories, which were on the basis of this film, I think it would be very empty, but I wanted to show the difficulty of when you have a perfect family, you have a lot of love in your family, but there is one person who acts wrong, and nobody can see it because he's a part of your family, and we would never believe that a family member can hurt the little ones from our families. And at the same time, it was the most difficult part because to confront somebody from your own family, it's incredibly difficult, and still I'm in the process of thinking and trying to analyze this situation of then you have a person which is not as ideal as other things, but he is not from outside, it's not an enemy from outside, but at the same time he is an uncle, a father, a husband, how to deal with it, and how to live after the secret is discovered. So it was very difficult choice, and sometimes I still think on it if it was right or not, but yeah, I think it was important to tell this story, and because many people can relate to this, and I think that many of them put themselves the same question, and I think that being silent is not the right choice.
You give a very traumatic data at the end of the film, how many people decide not to talk about it, and they live with such a trauma in themselves for the life, and how it must be probably eating them up. So to talk about it is hugely important, and yeah, I think that many viewers will relate to that. I'll get back.
I would like
No,
just to
no.
add that before making the film, I made a huge academic research on childhood and traumas, and it helped me a lot to make my story universal, and also to keep this distance. And this data is collected after 7 months of research. Yeah.
Has your uncle seen the film? Have you confronted the film with the family?
Before making the film, it was very difficult to explain why I don't want to go to the house of my great-grandparents, why I don't want to meet my family. And this film helped me to break the silence and at least to explain why I don't want to keep a contact with some family members. So no, I didn't show the film, and no, I think I will never keep any contact with them anymore, because I was expecting for some changes, but these changes didn't come, and for me it was difficult to see the reality.
It's very difficult, Arman, and this is another difficulty and another social issue that a very different one from Olga's, but your siblings who live like outside of the society and are sort of treated like the enemies. How did you, what happened? Olga just disappeared? No, you are there. Oh, okay. Arman disappeared, so I hope he connects.
Yeah, okay, it's no problem. I can explain. Okay, about the
Okay.
family and siblings, yeah. In this geography, people are suspicious, and believe and hard believers. For example, they believe a girl have to get married until 20 years old. Okay, and after that, people consider you as a badly, and you have to get married. It's taboo in this culture. Okay, and this family for sister and brothers, are single at old age, and people think they're perverse, and and maybe they we have to censor this in Iran, and maybe they have physical relationship with each other, and uh, something they judge them, people judge them. But when Arman was making another film, a man who was seller near the house of these people told Arman, we have such a story about sister and brothers that they don't connect them, they think they're bad people, and you shouldn't talk with them, okay, and you shouldn't be close with them because they're doomed, and because their father um, has killed his mother at a young age, and people think these siblings are doomed and you shouldn't be close with them, and because they never got married, you shouldn't talk with them. Okay, they are bad people. They are, for example, something like this. And this family, and if Arman never enter to this family, they never know these people. It was so difficult for Arman to bring camera to this family because they never have seen technology, camera, internet, and they live in difficulty situation. But after 6 or 7 months, when Arman went to their home without any camera, they accepted and satisfied to, for example, use camera and record this problem and their story. And the neighbors pretended, neighbors explained about these people, they're bad people, and be violent about this. Sorry, voluntary. Be voluntary about this and talk about them badly. And it was, and this film recorded in winter because Armand believes in winter we have solitude, melancholy, sadness, and it shows their family situation. Their family is like winter.
Do they get any sort of help? I don't know, from the government?
Nobody connects them.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody connects them. They're solitude. They just work. They don't have any good job. They never got married, but they have a loving relationship with each other. They love each other very much. They have a good relationship with animals. They like animals. Yeah.
So they really
instead
live
of other people.
Mm-hmm. So they really live like on what they grow, and because in one of the scenes we learned that that people wouldn't even buy food from them. They wouldn't buy anything they produce.
They think it's taboo, and you shouldn't eat anything from this taboo. You shouldn't even praying in their home, and they never allowed to even participate in mourning ceremonies. Yeah, because people hate them, and they think they are doomed. A really difficult situation.
Is it only at the rural areas or
rural,
also in the cities when there are single people that are treated as badly? Or is it just the case of this family?
They are hard believer. Some rural, especially in Iran, we have some strange attitude. And these people in this village are hard and strange believers. And because of that, they have some hard situation in their life.
I will jump to Annie and we'll get back to you because I want to get you all involved, not just to sit there. Annie, I think your story is the most light one because there is most hope, I would say there. I mean, for Olga, there is hope that you work through it and you can move on. But this is a dark film, and with the ones I used to know, I really laughed during the film and cried a little bit. There are all those happy and bad, bittersweet emotions. What brought you to this, and why Bing Crosby with the song that you use for the title, and we can hear it like a film?
It's a song that my father used to sing every Christmas. Even if he's not speaking English, he just invents some words. I to sing that. He even sing that like when he's doing his garden during the summer. So I think that it was some kind of homage that I did for him also, because the movie, yes, it's light. It's just I had a really easy childhood. I think it's just the diverse of my parent. I'm sorry, maybe you hear my newborn baby crying, but just want to say that.
Yes, thank you for being, well, when you're a busy mom now.
No, it's a pleasure, really. It's a pleasure to be in Poland. But yeah, so I just want to make this homage to the relation between a father and a daughter, even if sometimes it's difficult, because, yeah, as I said, we are so close and linked in our emotions. So I think it was easy to make fun of some pathetic moment that we all have sometimes in our life, but it's not traumatic. I think it's just some challenge that you face in life, and that helps you to have more empathy for the rest of your life, to try to understand more your parents and try to be a little bit I would say less in the magical childhood and more in the empathic and responsible look of an adult.
This is like a time travel film. This is, there is some nostalgia in it, and a lot of costume, and most of all, you have brilliant kids in there, and they make the film for you. And the girl, and the opening scene, I think that for many moms and for many parents really is something that they could relate to, all the littles doing crazy things, and perhaps we can remember the crazy things we did as children. How did you find those guys, and how did you work with them? Because this is always difficult. There is a saying, never work with children and with dogs or animals. And
it was a great challenge, because it was my first fiction, and there was a lot of people on the set to make this Christmas ambience, and also kids. And I made auditions, and I found Lilou, the little girl, and Laurent, the little boy who make the crisis, the blonde hair. And they are professional actors. They are really good. They are real actors. They know how to find a deep emotion in a situation. They can be really concentrate when they play, and they are, I think they are deeply touched by what happened in the film. They understand it. But I also wanted to have this real ambience, so I chose two other child who never made any films, who were never on a set, and so they just bring with them their naive side, and they just didn't learn any lines. They were just, I just asked them to be. And so they had, I told them that, okay, there's this situation, but I didn't force them to say some lines, or I really tried to let them play together. And the only ones who have really written lines that they have to follow were Laurent and Lilou. And we had some repetition before, I think that is just some chemical thing that happened, like with the family and the places where we shot. And I also been lucky, I think, because there's always a part of luck in that.
Always. And you had kind of a Christmas party on the set. I mean, controlled and the real one at the same time. Controlled because you were directing it and making the story happen, but it feels real and it feels kind of that you can be in the crowd, I guess. And then you can laugh with the Santa Claus, the bad Santa. I was thinking about Billy Bob Thornton a little bit at the end of the film.
Yeah.
Okay.
I want just to add a little bit about Anya's film, because you said it's light, but for me it was super heavy at some moments, specifically because I have a very close relationship with my father, and my father is my best friend, and this is the center of the film, the relationship between father and daughter, and the ending was such a relief for me. I was so afraid that she won't come.
I'm really happy that you say that, Olga, because it was a little bit the goal. I really wanted that people who watch the film could relate with the inner child and also with the adult, because I think that it's what I wanted to do, just to be able to link with this moment when one of our parents is no more a hero, is no more perfect, and you have to help this parent, and it makes you just closer than before, and it's beautiful. But yeah, it's also really sad that when we are able to reconnect with the child in us, to remember this moment when we saw our parents in some pain.
And I think that it's a very nice moment that you make from adult a child and from child an adult.
Yeah, exactly. And and this switch is so important too. It was I wanted to do coming of age movie, but they used to be in teenagehood, and it's not true for everyone. I think that a lot of people experience a coming of age at 7 or 9 years old. It's a bit precocious, but it can happen.
Olga, and I would like to ask you about I mean, really, your film is taking breath when you watch it, and you kind of build it slowly. When from the first moments we see that something is wrong behind those nice smiles with the family, and then you kind of push you take the camera away from the faces, you concentrate on little details around, and those details are perhaps not that nice. They show some decay perhaps, and there is the conversation, which it must have been horribly difficult for you. I was wondering how you work on this process. How did you come to this idea? Because I guess it must have been a long way for you to decide to tell it, first of all, and then to find a way to talk about it, which is extremely difficult to show it to the viewers who lived through it and who didn't live through it.
Yeah, first of all, this film is my graduation film from Doc Nomads. It's an amazing program, study program in Europe. And one of my colleagues was first to approach such kind of subject. And I think she encouraged me in a way. And then I was searching for a visual key for film. And here came an amazing Dutch filmmaker with Russian roots, Alena van der Horst, and she made a film in Russia, and also about one house, a family house, and here came this idea that actually the house will be the main protagonist, and I will express my feelings through elements of this house, and the house itself will be alive, and its mood will change gradually from warm colors to cold colors, and these elements which we meet in film, and I think I used many symbols, and this comes also from Moldovan film school and Moldovan type of cinema, which I think is not so known, but it's actually very poetic, and I think this is a kind of sum up of all these elements of European cinema and Moldovan cinema and Russian cinema. And I didn't plan to have this conversation. I didn't thought that I will be able to handle it. And I want to say that what is in the conversation, I don't remember biggest part of it. And it came in my mind in the last days of shooting to approach my uncle-in-law. He's not my direct uncle, but he's husband of my aunt. Because I saw that he's going alone in the garden and sits there alone for hours. And before making the film, what was my push to do it is that I'm not the only person who suffered from inappropriate behavior of him, but there are more children, I would say, in the past, because also as family members, but also who are outside of family. And when I discovered that I'm not the only one, I understood that I need to make this film, especially that because I studied 8 years cinema, and it was my duty to talk about things which others don't have enough courage for this moment. And when I saw that my uncle is going alone in the garden, I thought that he's thinking about some important things, and maybe he wants to tell me something. And this was my aim of starting this conversation, which was 2 hours long. And of course, I didn't put everything in the film, but you can see that it starts with some philosophical questions, I would say, and then gradually goes to the subject.
This is like a taboo subject for a family, and again I will get back to the data you show at the end of the film, and that you talked there was a huge research that you made before. So a taboo subject for a family, for a person, they don't, for obvious reason, because it is so difficult for the victims. For the families, probably this is the shame. And how about the society? Is it something that in Moldavia you are trying to work through and talk about it? In Poland, for example, there is a lot of conversation about this misbehavior amongst the clergy. But I guess the conversation is really just starting. And I was wondering, what is it in Moldavia?
Yeah, that's why I'm mentioning that I made an academic research before it, because the same question appeared to many journalists in Moldova, but it's not about Moldova. It's not just about small countries like this, but it's a really international problem, and which start to be discussed and analyzed really recently, because there is one European agreement to consider this kind of behavior criminal. Just 15 years ago, like 20 years ago, it wasn't a crime because it didn't apply really big injuries, physical injuries. And I think this is very problematic, and the data, to obtain the data, is also very problematic because even when I was a child, how could I know that something is happening wrong? And the limits are very vague between what is crime and what is not crime. For instance, when you hug a child, is it a crime or not a crime? When the love of a relative becomes a sinful love or something like this, limits are really very vague, and it's very hard to, and this is one of the reasons why it's so hard to talk about this. And also I have big problems with terminology because I don't consider myself victim. And I would say that people who decide to talk and even who met misbehavior in their life, I would rather call the fighters than victims, because victims, it's such a terminology which discourage, and it discouraged me as well. And also how to call this kind of behavior, it's also very problematic. So I think it's a subject to work on for journalists and also for people who decide what kind of terminology to use, because in news on online appeared different kind of disinformation regarding my film and regarding what is happening there and what is actually inside of it, which of course bothers me. But yeah, all the time I'm coming back to the question that I really had to do this film and to start talking and to also to help for other people and to encourage to talk about this. I think it's very actual because now there is a lot of disclosure about harassment and so on. So I think it's in the same goes in the same field almost. Yeah, the biggest problem is then you talk about family. If it would be a person from outside, it would be much easier than.
Yeah, because all of the emotions are there and the relation is there and makes it all more complicated. But really, thank you very much for your comment. And this will definitely make me think about the terminology, the language that we use. And I see your film as a film of a very brave woman who decides to go through the whole process, not to close it somewhere in the head, but to open the conversation. And the fighter is the word I will use from now on. So thank you for that. And is the conversation going on? Do you perhaps, I don't know, show you won at the Berlinale, so I guess it opens a lot of doors to have your film shown. And how is it working? And do you have these conversations?
You know, the process of making this film was a huge process in the family as well, because about our conversation, which is in the film, knew everybody already after we done it in the family. And what was my shock is then the wife of my uncle-in-law approached me and asked me to not show this conversation to her son because it will traumatize her sons. And for me, it was such a big sign of incorrect behavior. But as I mentioned, I made an academic research and I know why reactions are like this. So I don't judge at all. I understand that it's all also post-Soviet trauma for them as well, and for them it's difficult to talk and difficult to admit to the past, and they still have fear of talking, which is normal because all people in the film are really old. And at the same time, I think that it's a time to change this kind of silence and secrecy, because otherwise we'll be on the same stage of evolution, let's say.
And it will kind of keep on repeating if we don't face some things. And then there is the scene at the end of your film with the rain, kind of a metaphor that you're being kind of washed, and this is I think a huge mark from you to say I'm done with it. That's something how I read it. I would like to get back to Arman and your characters. You mentioned some about the difficulties and problems working with the family. How long was it? How much time did you spend? Was it like the whole winter, or was it a few years that you came back there?
آرمان میپرسن که کلاً چه مقدار طول کشید و اینکه توی زمستون چه جوری بودش، یعنی چه مقدار طول کشید. I think we don't have Arman here.
I think he's gone again.
Yes. Yes, because he's recording another film. Yeah.
Oh, I see. Perhaps he will. Oh, he's back. He's back.
Yeah.
He's back. I think there was something wrong with the connection. So, yeah. So how was working with the family? How long? And you mentioned a little bit of getting the family used to the camera presence, and how much Arman was involved in the life of the siblings.
Yeah. And before recording, Arman tried to know the family and satisfy them. And after 6 or 7 months, he used camera. And by the way, they don't know any camera technology and something like this. But as you saw in this film, they were so natural. Yeah, they never look at the camera, and they were like actors in front of the camera.
So they changed their behavior, yes, and kind of so they.
Yeah, they're so hospitable, you know, because Bakhtiyari is a nation in Iran. Bakhtiyari people are so hospitable, and you know, and they accepted Arman as a guest during the recording, and they were amazing, and people just judged them in a wrongly way, and as you know, they explained everything. Yeah, and they were so sad because of that, and it was disaster for them. By the way, now they have to leave, and they have to love each other, and they have to continue their life.
And their family, this is not only the neighbors and the kind of the village that turned their back on them. This is also their relatives that they don't want to have anything to do with them, which is
yeah, they abandoned them, you know, they left them, and they're alone, and people, their friends, their family, all of them left them.
Do you know what is happening with them right now? Does Arman keep contact with them or check on them?
You should ask Arman. I'm sorry, I don't know. You should ask Arman. Yeah, but I know Arman likes them, yeah. And sometimes they connect with them.
Arman is here, so if you perhaps translate the question for Arman, if he's in touch.
Arman, هستی؟
آره.
آرمان. میپرسن که ارتباطی باهاشون داری و اینکه خبری ازشون گرفتی این اواخر یا نه، از این خانواده.
خب من مستند رو به خاطر همین دوست دارم، چون ارتباطم با همه سوژه هم همچنان حفظ شده، با این خانواده هم همینطوره و حتی دختر بزرگ که مشکلی برای بیناییش پیش اومد من چندین بار دکتر بردم و اینکه همچنان هر کمکی از دستم بر بیاد در حد توانم برای خانواده انجام میدم و کماکان ما یک خانواده ایم و این ارتباط تا لحظه آخر ادامه خواهد داشت.
Arman says, I like them as my family. And yes, I have connection with them and always greet them and always go to their home. And the elder sister, the old one, has a problem with her eyes, and Arman tried to bring her to a doctor, and doctor remedied her. And Arman says, Arman says, I love a documentary because of that, because I always connect with my friend, and they are my friend, my family, and I always can connect with them and never forget them.
The film was won at Tehran Film Festival, and I was wondering what was the reception in a city like Tehran to see such a rural part of Iran that is perhaps not so well known to a big metropolis like this, and how is this problem received in the city, sort of.
آرمان میپرسم با اینکه این فیلم توی تهران بوده، توی فستیوال تهران بوده، خب طبق اینکه این یه فیلم روستایی هست و محلیه، چرا اونجا خیلی فکر کنم دیده نشده؟ درسته؟ گفتن علت این چی بوده؟ یعنی
نه چرا دو تا جایزه، نه فکر کنم چون 2 تا جایزه گرفته میگن احتمال علت موفقیتشون میپرساره.
آها، میگن که کلا نه، میگن که نظر اونا چی بوده؟ مترجم میگن که چرا مثلا توی تهران بوده قبلا، برای اینکه
نه خب ببینید این فیلم جزو 10 تا نامزد جشنواره امسال بیگ اسکای هم بود توی اولین نمایش جهانیش، خب و توی جشنواره مستند ایران بوده یا سینما وریتال اگر میخوای بگی، و اینکه توی جشنواره کوتاه تهران هم نامزد بهترین فیلم برداری بود، هم بهترین کارگردانی رو گرفت، هم بهترین تدوین جشنواره رو گرفت و خب به هر جشنواره رفته تونسته ارتباط برقرار کنه. و
چی بوده کلا نظر کنم فستیوال تهران میگن چی بوده؟
خب ببینید خب نظرشون دیگه مثبت بوده و اینکه خب فیلم رو مختص به حالا چون محلی و روستایی بوده، نه احتمالاً چون این یک مقیاس کوچیکی از قضاوت‌هایی که میتونه هر جای دنیا و به خصوص توی حالا کشور ما اتفاق بیفته و این یک نمونه کوچیکی از یک جامعه بزرگ میتونه باشه به نظر من، و به خاطر همین ارتباط شما یک مثال کوچیک از یک جامعه میتونه باشه یا حتی فراگیرتر از اون توی جهان این قضاوت‌ها.
Yeah. Arman says this film is a kind of a little example for such problems, and it can see and we can see this from another country, and in Tehran it has won I think 3 prizes. And the best recording and the best filmmaker. Do you have my voice?
Yes.
I have one question.
Yeah.
Please go ahead.
Yeah. First of all, I want to congratulate with the film, and what I like is this contrast, like such a beautiful landscape, which is almost graphic in winter, but at the same time, we all understand how difficult it's to go through winter for them when outside is so cold. And at the same time, such a nice, beautiful character. They have a very expressive face, and this all difficult life they pass through. And during when I was watching the film, I had one question all the time in my mind, and I wonder if you, Arman, if you want to continue, but if you are thinking to continue the film some way in the future, because they are now in 4, and for them, and they used to live like this, and all the time I was thinking, what will happen then? 3 of them will die and only 1 will remain alone. And
could you repeat your question?
Yeah, they live in 4. I think they gotten used to live in 4 and they like this way of living. But I was thinking, what will happen when 3 of them will die and only 1 will remain alive, and how difficult will be to go on for this one brother or sister. And my question was, if you think about continuing the film in future when this will happen.
آرمان میپرسن که طبق اینکه این خواهر برادر خیلی صمیمیت زیادی با هم دیگه دارن، فرضاً که یکیشون فوت بکنه مثلا چه اتفاقی میفته؟ حالا بهش فکر کردی که بخوای توی آینده این فیلمو بسازی، ادامه بدی؟ که چجوری میشه؟
خانواده خب ببینین احتمالاً خب مثل یک ماشینیه که احتمالاً یک چرخش رو از دست بده و این ماشین دیگه زمینگیر بشه. خب و با توجه به رابطه‌ای دارن احتمالاً حتی همون چند روزی که توی بیمارستانم بستری بود میگفت که اگر از هم دور باشیم احتمال این که قلبمون بگیره حالی سکته کنیم هست. خب حالا نمیدونم ترجمهش میکنی. و اینکه مسلماً خیلی میتونه سخت باشه این اتفاق و دقیقا مثال همونشه که اگر یه چرخ ماشین رو ازش بگیری احتمالاً زمینگیر میشه و احتمالاً همین به خاطر همین ارتباط رو حفظ کردم و دوست دارم که اگر این اتفاق بیفته شاید نسخه دوم این فیلم یا سرانجام این فیلم رو به سرانجام برسیم.
Arman says this family like a car with 4 wheels, and when we lost one of wheels, they wouldn't have any car. Yeah. And I think after this, I would make the continue, and it's continue. And he says when the girl was in hospital, another sibling said we think we wanna die, and they burst into cry, and they were so sad because of that, and they told they lost their sister, sorry, and it was difficult for them. And Arman says, yeah, maybe in future I wanna continue the recording.
بگو آنایت، بگو من خب ناراحت میشم از این اتفاق 100%، چون انگار یکی از عضو خانواده‌مو از دست میدم، ولی خب اگر این اتفاق رقم بخوره اولگا از تو دعوت میکنم که بیای و با هم دیگه این فیلم رو ادامه بدیم.
Miss Olga, you hear me?
Yeah.
Arman says, I would be so sad if this happen in future, but I invite you to join me and record this film together. After that.
So we have.
Do I need visa for Iran?
What?
Do I need visa for Iran?
Yes.
Yes.
So there is a new film born, like on the Q&A, and any new film born for you in the plans, or now you are concentrating on the ones we used to know. I'm sorry that kind of we talk so much about documentaries and fiction just is a different scope of challenges, finding the story, the rhythm, and everything. And this is also a process that is.
Yeah, but I totally appreciate the conversation, and as I said, it was my first fiction. I did documentary for more than 10 years before, so I really appreciate just here to talk about this process. And it's so it's a different engagement, way of just being totally immersed in a subject with some consequence on your real life. So yeah, I'm full of admiration for both of you, and I would like to go to do the film in Ireland too. if
So we
you
have
don't mind.
Our pleasure.
But before that, yeah, I'm doing a documentary, actually, a feature one about life coaches, and it's a way to look at our society, the way that we really want to be perfect in everything, and that we treat ourselves as little enterprise, as little yeah, we want to be an answer to the market. And the title of the movie is Your Higher Self, and I think that it's what we ask ourselves to be all the time. And yeah, so this new I don't know how to say that, but a form of I don't know this word. Well, there's a lot of life coaches in every field, and they make a lot of money, and I think it's something that talks about us.
And how was this transition for you from documentary to fiction, to deal with this different sort of beast, I would say?
I would say that it's cinema, documentary or fiction. I always thought that it's some kind of, it's some writing, it's cinema, it's you need the same, you need to have a look, and that's the most important thing. But for this film, I discovered a new freedom to be able to go deeply with some material that I choose, but also I really appreciate my experience in documentary, because I was always aware of what the little
to observe
truthness, yeah, to observe and to be able in a wink to see, oh, that's good, we have to take that. And I think that when you do a short movie, you don't have a lot of time to shoot. There's not a lot of money and everything, so it's really good to have this experience and to be able to do that. Also, I think that I did documentary a lot before, and I'll still do it, because I prefer to face something totally in improvisation and try to catch the reality in that, and the poetry in that, than to plan everything and have a scene which sounds false. That's a nightmare for me. So yeah, I'll for sure continue to do documentaries.
And Olga, plans for you? Are you working on something, another documentary or fiction now?
Yeah, I'm working on my first feature documentary, and it will be again a personal film, again about trauma, but in a wider context. I want to make a film about post-memory of Soviet Union and the collective trauma. And I will start with letters which are twice older than me, and it's the only heritage which was left from my grandmother, who committed suicide in the same year then the Soviet Union collapsed. And she lived in a place which I discovered recently is one of the most toxic in the world, and it's full of radiation, and where happened one of the first radioactive disasters from the world, but this information was hidden, and not just by Soviet Union, but also by other countries which knew but didn't want to talk about this.
And Armana, you are now on a film set. What is the production that you are working on?
پرسن که شما الان توی پروژه فیلمتون هستین، داشتن میپرسن که کلا فیکشن رو میخوان ادامه بدن یا داکیومنتری، و بعد میگن که شما الان گفتین که سر صحنه فیلم هستین، یه مقدار توضیح بدین مثلا در مورد چی هست و اینا. Yeah. Arman says, my new film is about a woman that got married by force, by her family force at 11 age. And she had another marriage at age 16. And she has now 3 children from her 2 marriage. And she's a driver, and she brings gas to rurals.
So fingers crossed for the story, how it develops. And guys, thank you so much for being here and finding the time for this little conversation. I keep my fingers crossed for your new projects. They seem quite amazing and worth waiting for. And I hope the audiences will spread the word about your films and come to watch your films at the 61st Krakow Film Festival. Guys, thank you so much.